The battlefield was chaos. Smoke curled into the gray sky, twisting like serpents above the craters and shattered buildings. Explosions echoed in the distance, shaking the ground beneath Lieutenant Alex Mercer's boots. He had been trained for combat, for chaos, for war, but nothing could have prepared him for the sheer destruction of the planet Varus 7. Alex crouched behind a broken wall, his heart pounding. Around him, the sounds of battle, shouts, gunfire, alien screeches formed a terrifying symphony. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from exhaustion and adrenaline. He checked the small medkit strapped to his chest, fingers brushing over the bandages and tools he had scavenged from the wreckage. "Medic!" a voice shouted nearby. Alex's instincts kicked in. He sprinted toward the cry for help, weaving between debris and fallen soldiers. Humans and aliens clashed violently, the war showing no mercy to either side. When he reached the wounded, he quickly assessed the situation: 2 soldiers with deep burns and lacerations. Alex worked efficiently, his training guiding his hands as he applied bandages and administered pain relief. Then, a flash of movement caught his eye. A figure staggered near the edge of the battlefield, barely moving, with a trail of blood marking her path. She wasn't human. Her skin shimmered in hues of blue and silver, and faint markings traced intricate patterns along her arms. She clutched her side, and her breaths came in ragged gasps. Without thinking, Alex sprinted toward her. "Hold on, I've got you," he yelled, dodging falling debris and alien fire. He reached her just as she collapsed against the rubble. Carefully, he rolled her onto her back, noting the deep wound on her torso. Blood soaked through her clothing, and her eyes fluttered open for a moment, revealing glowing golden irises filled with pain and confusion. Alex's training had taught him to act fast. He ripped strips of fabric from his own uniform and applied pressure to the wound. "You're going to be okay," he murmured, trying to mask the fear in his own voice. The alien woman made a soft, pained sound but didn't resist. Despite the chaos around them, Alex felt a strange calm take over, a focus sharpened by necessity. Explosions rocked the ground nearby, shaking loose debris that threatened to crush them. Alex scanned the area. They were exposed. He needed cover. With surprising strength, he hoisted her over his shoulder, her arms dangling weakly, and ran toward a crumbling wall that offered some protection. Bullets ricocheted around them, and alien claws scraped against the ground, but Alex moved with precision, his every step calculated to avoid danger. He laid her down behind the wall and tore open his medkit. Bandages, antiseptic, and a few emergency injectors fell onto the dust-covered ground. He treated her wound as quickly as he could, cleaning it and wrapping it tightly to stop the bleeding. Her breathing gradually steadied, though shallowly. Alex noticed her hands were delicate, her fingers long and elegant, hardly like a soldier, but he didn't dwell on it. Survival came first. "Can you speak?" he asked gently. She shook her head slightly, lips parting to make a soft noise. Alex nodded, understanding. Pain often robbed victims of words. He looked around. The battlefield was far from safe, but he had no choice. He needed to move them somewhere safer before the enemy discovered her. As he prepared to lift her again, a series of explosions erupted nearby. Rocks and debris tumbled down, narrowly missing them. Alex's heart pounded. Every instinct screamed that they could not stay here. With one deep breath, he lifted her again, this time carrying her as fast as his legs could manage through the uneven terrain. The distant sounds of alien soldiers grew louder. They were hunting her. Alex darted through a ruined alley, ducking under a half-collapsed archway. He could feel the heat of fires nearby and smell the acrid smoke that burned his lungs. Yet even in this chaos, he did not panic. Human resilience, human ingenuity, and sheer determination guided him. He thought of all the drills he had survived, all the times he had been tested under fire. This was another test, and he refused to fail. Finally, he found a small crater that offered some concealment. Carefully, he laid the alien woman down. She stirred slightly, her golden eyes meeting his. For a moment, there was silence between them, broken only by the distant sounds of the battle. Alex studied her face. Her expression was calm despite the blood and pain, a quiet strength that struck him. "You're strong," he said softly. "We'll get through this." Every movement was careful. He could not risk worsening her injury. Night began to fall, and with it came a chill that bit through his uniform. The battlefield quieted slightly as alien forces withdrew, leaving the devastation behind. Alex knew he had only a small window to move her to a safer location. Using his knowledge of terrain and human survival tactics, he spotted a network of abandoned tunnels that could provide temporary refuge. Lifting her once again, Alex moved cautiously, testing each step on the unstable ground. He recalled his survival training. Keep calm, observe the environment, and use what you have to your advantage. He guided her down the narrow entrance to the tunnel, each step a careful negotiation with the crumbling structure. The air was damp and cool, a welcome relief from the burning heat above. Inside the tunnel, Alex laid her down on a flat stone surface. He searched his medkit again and found a small ration of water and some nutrient paste. Using a clean cloth, he carefully fed her small amounts, noting that her breathing had become steadier. Hours passed. Alex stayed vigilant, listening for the sounds of pursuit. Each time he heard a distant explosion or a scream, his hand instinctively went to his weapon, ready to protect her. He was tired, but he could not rest. The survival of this alien woman and perhaps something more depended on him. As the hours dragged on, he finally allowed himself a moment to study her further. Her markings were intricate, almost ceremonial. She did not seem like a soldier, yet there was an undeniable grace and authority in her presence. Alex did not know her name, her origin, or the significance of her survival. All he knew was that he had to keep her alive. He patched the wound once more, reinforcing his earlier work. His hands were steady, his focus unwavering. This was human skill in action, intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to remain calm under pressure. He thought of the countless stories of human ingenuity that had carried soldiers through impossible situations. Now he was living one of those stories. Eventually, exhaustion forced him to lean back against the tunnel wall. He kept one hand on her, ready to respond to any sudden danger. Outside, the world was still engulfed in war, but in this small, hidden place, a fragile calm existed. Alex closed his eyes for just a moment, breathing in the damp, earthy scent of the tunnel. When he opened them, the alien woman's eyes met his again. This time there was a faint, almost imperceptible nod. A connection had formed between them, fragile yet real. Alex smiled faintly, feeling a sense of purpose that went beyond orders or survival. He was a human facing impossible odds, and yet he was holding the line, not with weapons, but with courage, skill, and compassion. The night deepened. Alex kept watch, ready for whatever came next. He did not yet know her story or the part she would play in the larger war. All he knew was that he had saved her life, and in doing so, he had proven that even amidst chaos, humanity's best traits, courage, ingenuity, and empathy, could shine through. Somewhere in the distance, a faint glimmer of starlight broke through the smoke, a silent reminder that hope, no matter how small, still existed. Alex Mercer would protect this stranger, no matter the cost. The war raged on, but for this moment, humans had made a difference. And that difference, he hoped, would ripple far beyond the tunnel walls. The tunnel was quiet, but the air felt heavy. Alex Mercer stayed alert, listening to every sound outside. Occasional distant blasts reminded him that the war was far from over. Yet inside the tunnel, a fragile calm had settled. The alien woman lay on the stone floor, her breathing even, her eyes closed. Alex's fingers itched to do more to make sure she was truly safe. He rummaged through his medkit again, checking supplies. Water was running low and bandages were limited. He needed to think carefully. He couldn't rely on resupply until he found a safer location outside. Yet he refused to panic. Alex had survived worse. Humans could adapt, and right now, adaptation meant keeping this mysterious alien alive. Hours passed, and she finally stirred. Her golden eyes opened slowly, scanning the tunnel. Alex knelt beside her, careful not to startle her. "You're safe for now," he said softly. She blinked, and for the first time she tried to speak. Words were not English, none that he recognized, but her tone suggested caution and curiosity. Alex nodded. "I don't understand you," he said honestly, "but I'll protect you." He extended a hand gently, and she hesitated, then placed her hand in his. It was smaller and more delicate than he had imagined, and the warmth of her touch struck him. She seemed to understand not his words, but his intent. They stayed in the tunnel for the rest of the night. Alex took turns resting and keeping watch. He thought about the battlefield, the chaos they had fled. The humans were stretched thin, their forces scattered across the war-torn planet. And these aliens, whatever their role, were just as desperate to survive. Yet, despite the danger, Alex felt a sense of purpose he had not experienced in months of fighting. This was more than survival, it was connection. By morning, Alex decided they could not remain in the tunnel. The enemy forces were likely searching, and staying in one place too long was too risky. He studied the map etched in his mind from reconnaissance missions. Nearby was a dense forest, a place that could provide cover and potentially more safety. It would be dangerous to cross, but he had no choice. He lifted the alien woman carefully, checking her bandages one last time. "We're moving," he said. She did not resist, only nodded faintly. Alex adjusted his grip, mindful of the wound on her side. Every step was deliberate, every movement cautious. The ground was uneven, littered with debris from collapsed buildings. He relied on his knowledge of human endurance and survival tactics, keeping a steady pace to avoid alarming her or worsening her injury. The forest loomed ahead, its shadows stretching long in the morning sun. Alex led the way, moving through broken streets and shattered ruins. Occasionally they paused, listening for alien patrols or hidden dangers. Alex kept speaking softly, explaining each move, not expecting her to understand the words, but hoping she would sense his calm. As they reached the forest edge, they encountered a small stream. Alex lowered her gently to the ground and allowed her to drink. The cool water soothed her parched throat, and Alex took a moment to wash some of the dried blood from her bandages. The forest was dense, but its thick undergrowth provided cover. Alex's military training allowed him to navigate carefully, leaving minimal tracks to avoid detection. For the first time, they moved with a sense of rhythm. Alex led, she followed, and the silence between them was comfortable. There was no need for words, actions spoke louder. When a low growl sounded nearby, Alex froze, signaling her to stay down. From the shadows, a group of alien predators, creatures not allied with either army, emerged, their eyes glowing in the dim light. Alex's mind raced. He had no weapon with enough firepower to face them directly, but humans had always relied on ingenuity. Using sticks and stones, he set a small trap. A fallen log was balanced precariously above the path, and when the predators stepped forward, it toppled, scaring them away. He wiped sweat from his brow, breathing heavily. The alien woman watched quietly, her golden eyes wide with awe. Alex realized that even in her state of injury, she was observing human resourcefulness, human adaptability. The forest grew darker as the day progressed. Alex found a small clearing and set down a temporary camp. He checked her wound again, cleaning it and applying fresh bandages. "You need to rest," he said gently. She nodded, leaning slightly against him as he adjusted her position for comfort. While she slept, Alex thought about the battlefield, the human soldiers he had left behind, and the alien woman whose life he had saved. He realized that war had forced him into situations where human ingenuity was the only tool for survival. And yet it wasn't just skill, it was compassion, empathy, and the willingness to risk one's life for another. As night fell, a strange sound reached them, soft, deliberate footsteps moving through the forest. Alex froze. He scanned the trees with sharp eyes. A small group of aliens approached, but their movements were different from the predators earlier. They were cautious, but not hostile. Alex stepped forward, raising a hand in peace. One of the aliens stepped into the moonlight. She was humanoid, with markings similar to the woman Alex had saved, but she wore no armor, only ceremonial robes. Her gaze fell on the wounded woman, and she gasped softly. Alex's companion stirred, lifting her head weakly. Recognition passed between them, a silent understanding that transcended language. Alex realized she was important, perhaps more than he had guessed. His heart raced. This was no ordinary soldier he had saved. This was someone of significance, and yet he didn't have time to dwell on it. He needed to ensure their safety. The alien in robes spoke softly, and Alex listened, picking up fragments of words that sounded like commands. The wounded woman responded, her tone calm but authoritative. The exchange was brief, and then the new alien gestured for them to follow. Alex hesitated, wary of a trap, but he could see the trust in the wounded woman's eyes. She wanted him to come. They followed through the dense forest, careful to avoid open areas. Eventually, they arrived at a hidden settlement, small and concealed beneath the thick canopy. The villagers, aliens of various shapes and sizes, gathered, curious but cautious. Alex noticed the tension in their movements. Humans were unknown here, and war had bred mistrust. The wounded woman spoke again, and the villagers moved aside, allowing them through. Alex carried her carefully, noting how the villagers looked at him with suspicion. Yet she did not hesitate to allow him to stay close. There was a quiet understanding. He had saved her, and now he was part of this fragile alliance. Inside the settlement, Alex was offered a place to rest. The villagers provided basic food and clean water. Alex treated her wound once more, using the remaining supplies he had. He watched her carefully as she ate and drank, ensuring she was recovering. For the first time, she spoke a few words in a language he partially understood. "Thank you," and though it was faint, it warmed him. Days passed in the settlement. Alex observed the alien community, learning their routines and customs. He noticed their skill with technology, their coordination, and their respect for hierarchy. Yet even here, amidst their sophistication, human ingenuity proved invaluable. Alex helped fortify their defenses using simple yet effective methods: traps, barriers, and improvised alarms. Each day, he earned a little more trust from the villagers. One evening, the wounded woman sat beside him. Her golden eyes studied him intently. Alex realized she was not only observing his actions, but understanding them. She saw the courage it took to step into danger without hesitation, the intelligence in improvising solutions under pressure, and the empathy in risking oneself for another. Alex felt a quiet pride, not in himself, but in humanity's capacity to rise above chaos. She reached out and placed a hand on his shoulder. This time there was no hesitation, only acknowledgement. Alex nodded, understanding that some bonds transcended language, culture, or species. They were partners in survival, united by circumstance and mutual respect. As night fell over the forest, Alex kept watch outside the settlement. He knew the war was not over and danger could return at any moment. Yet he felt a strange sense of calm. Humans were resilient. Humans were clever. And humans, when guided by compassion and courage, could change the course of events in ways that no one, not even the most advanced alien civilizations, could ignore. In the darkness, he allowed himself a small thought. Perhaps saving this alien woman was not just an act of compassion. Perhaps it was the beginning of something greater, a bridge between humans and a species he barely understood, a chance to prove that humanity was not only capable of survival, but capable of honor, courage, and influence in the wider universe. The wounded woman stirred again, opening her eyes. She did not speak, yet the depth in her gaze communicated a single, clear message. She trusted him. Alex Mercer, a human soldier on a distant battlefield, had proven his worth not with weapons, but with ingenuity, courage, and heart. And in that moment, under the stars that peeked through the forest canopy, Alex felt the weight of possibility settle on his shoulders. The war raged on beyond the trees, but within this small corner of the universe, humanity had made a difference. The hidden settlement was alive with quiet energy. Alien voices hummed through the narrow walkways, a mixture of curiosity, suspicion, and caution. Alex Mercer moved carefully, observing everything around him. Even in recovery, the wounded woman, whom he still did not know the name of, moved with quiet authority. Her eyes scanned the settlement, giving subtle instructions that others followed without question. Alex realized she was no ordinary alien. There was a weight to her presence, a calm confidence that commanded respect without a word. He could see it in the way the villagers deferred to her, in the subtle gestures of those around her. Yet she did not flaunt her authority. Instead, she observed, calculated, and made small adjustments to keep her people safe. For days, Alex continued his work. He helped reinforce the perimeter with makeshift barriers, set traps that could alert them to intruders, and assisted in rationing food and medical supplies. The villagers were cautious at first, but gradually they began to watch him closely, seeing his skill, his dedication, and his unwavering focus. Even without speaking their language, Alex earned their respect through action. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, casting long shadows across the forest floor, the alien woman called him aside. Alex followed her to a small clearing near the center of the settlement. She gestured toward a simple seat, inviting him to sit. He complied, curious and cautious. She moved gracefully to a raised platform nearby. There she removed a cloak, revealing intricate markings across her shoulders and chest. Alex's breath caught. The patterns were not just decorative, they were ceremonial, symbols of status and authority. The realization struck him slowly, like a stone dropping into water. "You," he began, but stopped, unsure what to say. The woman regarded him with golden eyes, calm and steady. Then she spoke, and though he did not understand the words, the tone was unmistakable, commanding yet measured. Around her, villagers bowed slightly, murmuring in response. Alex watched in awe. She was no soldier. She was a leader. One of the villagers approached and spoke in broken English, explaining slowly that she was Queen Lysera, heir to the throne of her people. Alex felt a jolt of disbelief. He had treated a queen without knowing it, risking his life on the battlefield to save someone of immense importance. His mind raced, but he kept his composure. I had no idea," he said, carefully choosing his words. The translator nodded, then stepped back. Alex looked at Lysera again. She did not scold him or express anger. Instead, there was a faint acknowledgement, a recognition that he had acted out of pure intent and courage. Her eyes held no fear, only a quiet curiosity. Over the next few days, Alex found himself drawn deeper into the daily life of the settlement. He learned more about the alien people, their customs, and the challenges they faced in the ongoing war. Lysera moved among her subjects with grace, yet every decision she made revealed the weight of responsibility she carried. Her people trusted her judgment implicitly, but she valued every life equally, even those of strangers like Alex. Despite the language barrier, Alex and Lysera developed a method of communication. Simple gestures, shared observations, and repeated actions became their vocabulary. He discovered she was intelligent, strategic, and deeply compassionate. She questioned his methods, sometimes gently correcting his assumptions, but always with respect. In turn, he taught her a few basic human techniques, ways to reinforce defenses quickly, methods of treating injuries when supplies were limited, and simple tactics to anticipate enemy movements. Alex realized that their cooperation was more than survival, it was mutual learning. Humans had ingenuity and adaptability, and aliens had knowledge and advanced technology. Together, they could accomplish far more than either could alone. The HFY principle shone clearly. Human courage, intelligence, and empathy had earned a place at the table with an alien queen. One night, the settlement was quiet. Alex was on patrol near the edge of the forest, ensuring no hostile forces approached. Lysera joined him, moving silently beside him. She gestured toward the trees, pointing out potential weak spots in the perimeter. Alex nodded, impressed by her tactical awareness. Though she had not received military training in human terms, her instincts were precise, honed by years of leadership and survival. "You trust me," she said, her voice clear in his mind through their shared gestures. Alex nodded. "As much as anyone could," he replied simply. Trust had become a bond between them, unspoken yet strong. The next morning, a scout returned with news. A small band of enemy forces had been spotted near the outskirts of the forest. They were heavily armed and moving cautiously, clearly aware that someone powerful was hiding within the settlement. Alex felt a familiar rush of adrenaline. This was no longer just survival. It was strategy, planning, and the chance to protect an entire community. Lysera called a meeting with her advisors. Alex observed from a respectful distance, noting the careful deliberation in their discussion. Then she turned to him, indicating that she valued his input. Heart pounding, Alex stepped forward and outlined a plan. He suggested using human tactics, small, mobile units to harass the enemy, traps along likely paths, and a coordinated defense that leveraged the terrain. The advisors looked skeptical, but Lysera nodded. She trusted Alex. That trust alone motivated him more than any reward. He worked tirelessly with her and the villagers, preparing defenses, training volunteers in simple tactics, and improvising solutions with the limited resources available. Every barrier, every tripwire, every makeshift alarm was a testament to human ingenuity. The enemy arrived just before dusk. Shadows moved through the trees, and Alex held his position, heart steady, eyes scanning the undergrowth. The first alien soldiers stepped into the traps he had set. Logs fell, nets tangled, and makeshift alarms alerted the settlement. The villagers, guided by Lysera and Alex, moved efficiently, reinforcing barricades and protecting vulnerable areas. The battle was intense but brief. Alex's human tactics, combined with Lysera's leadership and the villagers' courage, allowed them to repel the enemy with minimal casualties. Every moment highlighted human adaptability, quick thinking, and bravery. The villagers cheered, their trust in Alex solidified, and Lysera's eyes shone with gratitude and respect. After the battle, Alex tended to minor injuries, reinforcing his bond with the community. Lysera approached him, her golden eyes calm and thoughtful. She did not speak in words he could understand fully, yet her expression conveyed admiration. She gestured toward the settlement, then back at him. The meaning was clear. His actions had saved lives, and his courage had changed the course of events. That night, as they sat together under the canopy of stars, Alex reflected on the days that had passed. He had begun as a soldier, trained to follow orders and survive. Now he was a protector, a strategist, and a bridge between species. Humans had proven their value not through weapons alone, but through intellect, courage, and compassion. Lysera's presence reminded him that leadership could be shared, respected, and strengthened by trust. He realized something profound. Even in the darkest times, humanity's best traits, resourcefulness, empathy, and bravery, could shine through. Saving Lysera had been an act of instinct, but it had evolved into a partnership that transcended culture, language, and species. Humans were capable of greatness, and this moment in this hidden forest settlement was proof. Lysera gestured toward the horizon, then back at Alex as if to ask what they should do next. He considered the war, the scattered human forces, and the alien factions. His mind raced, formulating plans, anticipating challenges. Yet one thing was certain: they would face them together. Humans had survived against impossible odds before, and now, with courage, intelligence, and determination, they would do it again. The night deepened and the settlement quieted. Alex kept watch, Lysera resting beside him. In that quiet, he allowed himself to hope. Hope that humans could be more than soldiers on a battlefield, more than mere survivors. They could be partners, protectors, innovators, and heroes. And perhaps, through acts of courage and ingenuity, they could shape the future of entire worlds. The stars above glimmered faintly through the trees, silent witnesses to a bond forged in danger, trust, and shared purpose. Alex Mercer, a human from Earth, had entered an alien world as a stranger, but he would remain as something far more significant, a symbol of what humans could achieve when guided by heart, mind, and unwavering courage. As dawn approached, Alex stood, stretching stiff muscles, ready to face the challenges the next day would bring. The forest around him stirred with life, and somewhere in its depths, enemies may have already begun planning their next move. But Alex was not afraid. Humans had survived worse, and now, armed with ingenuity, compassion, and courage, he was ready to face whatever came next. Lysera opened her eyes and looked at him, her gaze steady. Alex smiled faintly, and in that simple exchange, words were unnecessary. They understood each other. Humans and aliens, warrior and queen, soldier and leader, together against the chaos of war. And in that understanding, humanity's strength was clear, shining as brightly as the morning sun that now crept through the forest canopy. The sun rose over the forest, its light filtering through the thick canopy and casting a soft glow on the settlement. Birds chirped faintly, though the sound was almost drowned by the distant echoes of war explosions and the drumming of alien war machines far beyond the trees. Alex Mercer stood at the edge of the village, studying the terrain. He could see why the enemy had been cautious before. The forest was dense, filled with hidden paths, natural choke points, and areas that could be used for ambushes. It was perfect for defensive strategies, and with careful planning it could become an advantage for Lysera's people. Alex turned to Lysera, who stood nearby, her golden eyes scanning the horizon. "We need to move quickly," he said. "The enemy will return, and when they do, they'll come stronger." Though her voice had been distant and commanding before, now her expression showed a hint of urgency. She gestured to Alex, inviting him to walk with her toward the center of the settlement. Villagers were already preparing, fortifying barricades, sharpening tools, and positioning themselves near the perimeter. Every movement was precise. Even in the face of danger, their discipline was impressive. Alex thought about what he had learned from his training, from years of human combat experience. Humans had always thrived under pressure, using creativity to turn the tables in impossible situations. Now, he needed to apply that same ingenuity to help Lysera's people. He gathered a small group of volunteers, including a few villagers who had begun to trust him fully. "We need to control the high ground," he explained, "and we can use the forest itself to slow the enemy. They won't expect traps in places that seem natural." The villagers exchanged uncertain glances, but Lysera's subtle nod gave Alex the authority he needed. Over the next few hours, Alex moved swiftly and decisively. Using ropes, fallen logs, and sharpened stakes, he set traps along likely enemy paths. He instructed the villagers on using smoke signals and sound alerts to communicate across distances. Where human weapons were lacking, he improvised. Rocks bound together to create simple but effective projectile traps, logs balanced for sudden collapse, and small fires to mask movement. Every tactic relied on ingenuity rather than sheer force. Lysera watched closely, occasionally stepping in to adjust his strategies with her intimate knowledge of the terrain. Together, human and alien worked as a single unit. Alex's mind raced, calculating angles, distances, and timing. Every step was critical. Failure could mean disaster. Yet with each new measure, confidence grew not just in himself, but in the villagers' ability to fight as one. By midday, the first signs of the enemy appeared. Shadows moved along the forest's edge, figures carrying advanced weaponry that glinted in the sunlight. Alex signaled the villagers to positions and motioned to Lysera. They were ready. The attack began with precision. Enemy forces pushed forward cautiously, stepping into traps Alex had anticipated. Nets ensnared the lead scouts, rocks tumbled down hidden slopes, and fire signals sent confusing messages that forced the enemy to hesitate. Lysera's people responded with swift, coordinated action, cutting off flanks and securing choke points. Alex moved among them, offering guidance where needed. He adjusted traps in real time, directed villagers to move to safer positions, and monitored enemy movements for weaknesses. Every tactic showcased human problem-solving under pressure. He could see the admiration in Lysera's eyes, though she said nothing. Words were unnecessary. The results spoke for themselves. Hours passed, and the battle reached its peak intensity. Alex spotted a group of enemy forces attempting to flank from the rear. Without hesitation, he led a small team along a hidden path, striking at the enemy's weak point. Using surprise and calculated moves, they forced the attackers into a narrow passage where traps and defenders could neutralize them efficiently. Meanwhile, Lysera coordinated the main defense, moving among her people, offering guidance and keeping morale high. Her presence inspired confidence, but it was Alex's human tactics that amplified their effectiveness. Together, they created a synergy neither could achieve alone. Humans and aliens were no longer separate. They were a single force, united in purpose. By late afternoon, the enemy began to falter. Their movements slowed, confusion spreading as traps, misdirection, and human-inspired strategies forced them to retreat. Villagers cheered cautiously, though Alex reminded them not to lower their guard. There was still danger, but the tide had clearly shifted. In the aftermath, Alex moved quickly, tending to minor injuries and reinforcing defenses in case of a counterattack. Lysera approached him quietly, her expression unreadable. She gestured toward the field where the battle had taken place. Alex understood immediately. She wanted him to see the results. The landscape was scarred by the fight, but the settlement had survived intact. The villagers were unharmed for the most part, and the enemy had been driven back. It was not a victory born of overwhelming force, but of intelligence, adaptability, and courage, the very qualities humans excelled at. Lysera spoke a few words in her language, which one of the villagers translated. "Your actions saved many lives today. You fought not as a soldier of war, but as a protector of our people." Alex felt a surge of pride, though he tried to remain modest. He had only done what humans did best, adapt, improvise, and act with courage, yet the acknowledgement from a queen resonated deeply. As evening fell, the settlement gathered for a quiet meeting. Alex and Lysera addressed the villagers together. She spoke of their shared struggle, and Alex demonstrated a few human tactics, showing how careful planning, observation, and courage could overcome stronger enemies. The villagers watched intently, learning quickly. Alex marveled at how rapidly humans and aliens could adapt and cooperate when united by a common goal. During the meeting, one of the villagers approached Alex privately. "You are not like other humans we have heard of," the translator said. "You think differently, act differently, and your courage is unusual." Alex smiled faintly. "Humans survive by thinking, by helping each other, and by never giving up. That's all." The villager nodded, clearly impressed. Afterward, Alex walked with Lysera to the edge of the forest. Shadows lengthened as the sun dipped toward the horizon. She spoke in her language, and Alex listened carefully, catching the meaning through context and gestures. She was asking about his home, his people, his experience. He explained as best as he could, pointing to the stars and describing Earth, the human home world. Lysera seemed fascinated. She had seen many worlds, many civilizations, but Alex's humanity, his resilience, his ingenuity, his empathy was something different. In her golden eyes, he could see recognition. Humans were capable of more than survival. They could inspire, they could lead, and they could form alliances across unimaginable divides. That night, Alex sat by a small fire, reviewing the day's events. Every trap, every tactic, every decision had been calculated, yet he also relied on instinct, courage, and empathy. Humans thrived in situations where thinking, feeling, and acting together mattered most. He realized that the war was not just about weapons or technology. It was about intelligence, creativity, and heart. Lysera joined him, sitting silently beside the fire. She did not speak, but her presence was comforting. Alex watched her, understanding now why she had inspired such loyalty among her people. Yet, he also knew that humans, with their ability to adapt and improvise, could hold their own even in a world of advanced aliens and interstellar war. As the night deepened, a messenger arrived with news. A larger enemy force was approaching, more organized and prepared than the last. Alex felt the familiar surge of adrenaline. The stakes were higher now, but humans had proven time and again that courage and ingenuity could overcome even impossible odds. He turned to Lysera, and in that unspoken exchange they both understood. The coming battle would test everything they had built together. The following day, Alex worked tirelessly with Lysera and the villagers to strengthen their defenses further. They reinforced barricades, improved traps, and trained more volunteers in human-inspired tactics. He taught them to observe, to anticipate enemy moves, and to act decisively. Each lesson emphasized creativity and quick thinking, qualities humans had relied on for centuries. By evening, the settlement was transformed. It was no longer just a hidden refuge, it was a fortress, a symbol of human ingenuity applied in concert with alien leadership. Alex looked over the work and felt a sense of pride. The upcoming battle would be difficult, but they were ready. Together, human and alien could face anything. As the sun set, Lysera approached him. She spoke slowly, each word measured. Alex listened carefully, understanding the meaning even when he did not understand the language fully. She was acknowledging his contribution, recognizing his role not just as a soldier, but as a strategist, protector, and partner. Alex nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Humans had proven themselves once again, and now the ultimate test awaited. In the darkness, the settlement was quiet but vigilant. Alex sat with Lysera, their shoulders nearly touching as they watched the forest. Somewhere beyond the trees, the enemy was gathering strength. Yet within this small clearing, humans had shown that intelligence, courage, and compassion could change the course of a war. The stars above twinkled faintly through the branches, silent witnesses to the bond forged in fire, strategy, and shared purpose. Alex Mercer, a human from Earth, had arrived as a stranger, but now he was more than that. He was a protector, a strategist, and a symbol of what humanity could achieve. And when the enemy finally attacked again, they would face not just aliens and traps, but human ingenuity and unwavering courage. Dawn broke over the forest settlement, painting the treetops in soft shades of gold and orange. The air was thick with anticipation. Alex Mercer stood at the edge of the perimeter, surveying the area. Beyond the trees, he could see the enemy gathering, a formidable force, larger and more organized than any they had faced before. His jaw tightened. This would be the decisive battle. Lysera approached silently, her golden eyes scanning the horizon. She did not speak, but her posture radiated authority. Villagers moved with quiet precision, armed with basic weapons and positioned according to Alex's careful plans. Every trap, barricade, and strategy had been reviewed and reinforced. Humans had prepared them for this moment, combining ingenuity with courage. Alex took a deep breath, feeling the familiar surge of adrenaline. His heart raced, but his mind was calm. Humans had faced impossible odds countless times and had survived. This battle would be no different as long as they used their intelligence and courage. He glanced at Lysera. Her gaze met his, steady and unwavering. They understood each other perfectly. Failure was not an option. The enemy force moved closer, a wave of alien soldiers with advanced weapons, their armor gleaming under the early morning sun. They had learned from previous encounters, adapting their tactics, but Alex was ready. He motioned to the villagers to hold their positions, then whispered instructions to a small team that would strike at the enemy's flank. Every detail had been calculated, every move designed to maximize human ingenuity and the settlement's strengths. The battle began with precision. As the enemy approached the forest edge, hidden traps activated. Logs fell, nets ensnared, and sound alarms confused and disoriented them. Villagers, guided by Alex and Lysera, moved with coordinated efficiency, cutting off enemy advances and protecting key positions. Alex darted among them, adjusting tactics in real time, reinforcing weak points, and ensuring the injured were moved to safety. Lysera's presence inspired the villagers. Even in the midst of chaos, they followed her instructions without hesitation, trusting her judgment. Alex could see the respect in their eyes for him as well. He was no longer just a foreign soldier. He had become a symbol of human ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. His quick thinking, creative strategies, and calm presence had earned their trust, and it would be tested now more than ever. As the enemy pressed forward, a group of soldiers attempted to flank the settlement from the rear. Alex had anticipated this. He led a small squad through a hidden path, striking with precision. Using clever traps and surprise attacks, they funneled the enemy into narrow passages, where villagers and defenders could hold them off effectively. The enemy faltered, struggling against the unexpected tactics. Amid the chaos, Alex spotted a larger problem. Enemy war machines, hovering vehicles armed with plasma cannons, moved toward the heart of the settlement. He knew that if they reached the center, the village could be destroyed. Thinking quickly, he gathered a small team and improvised a countermeasure. Using logs, ropes, and debris, they created a series of controlled collapses along a narrow ravine, channeling the machines into a trap. The first vehicle triggered it, rolling forward and striking a barrier, becoming immobilized. The second followed, and the third, until all three were disabled. The villagers cheered from the safety of the trees, and even Lysera allowed herself a small smile. Alex exhaled, feeling the weight of human ingenuity shining through in the most dangerous moment of the battle. But the fight was not over. The enemy regrouped, sending their most elite soldiers forward. Alex met them head-on, coordinating both human and alien forces. He directed villagers to fire from elevated positions, use hidden traps, and attack from multiple directions. Every move relied on timing, creativity, and courage, qualities humans excelled at. Lysera moved among her people, rallying and inspiring them. Alex realized that their combined leadership had transformed the settlement into more than a refuge. It was now a fortress, a symbol of the strength that could emerge when humans and aliens worked together. Even the enemy began to hesitate, clearly unprepared for such coordinated resistance. Hours passed. The battle was fierce, but Alex's strategies continued to turn the tide. He noticed small opportunities the enemy had left exposed, gaps in their formation, weakly defended positions, and overextended units. He guided the villagers to exploit these, focusing on efficiency and precision rather than brute force. The enemy faltered, confusion spreading through their ranks. By late afternoon, the enemy's morale had collapsed. Their advanced technology and numbers could not overcome the combination of Lysera's leadership and Alex's human ingenuity. Step by step, the settlement regained control of the battlefield. Villagers moved to secure supplies, treat minor injuries, and ensure no threats remained hidden. When the dust finally settled, silence fell over the forest. The enemy had been defeated decisively. Alex walked through the battlefield, surveying the results. The settlement was intact, and the villagers were unharmed for the most part. The victory had not been easy, but it had been achieved through intelligence, courage, and creativity, the very traits humans embodied. Lysera approached him, her golden eyes shining with respect. She gestured for Alex to follow her to the center of the settlement. Villagers gathered silently, curious and attentive. Alex realized what was happening. Lysera intended to honor him publicly. She spoke in her language, and the translator quickly relayed the meaning. "This human has saved our people, guided us with wisdom, and fought bravely. He is a protector, a strategist, and a friend. Let all remember his courage." He had entered this alien world as a stranger, yet through his actions, humans had earned respect, admiration, and a place at the side of a queen. It was proof of what humanity could achieve when guided by intelligence, empathy, and courage. Lysera placed a hand gently on Alex's shoulder. She did not need words. The gesture spoke volumes. Trust, respect, and partnership had been solidified. Alex nodded, understanding the responsibility he now carried. Humans had proven themselves not just as warriors, but as allies, protectors, and problem solvers. The evening sky was painted in shades of red and purple as Alex and Lysera walked through the settlement. Villagers were busy rebuilding, sharing food, and tending to minor injuries. There was a renewed sense of purpose and hope. Alex realized that the battle had changed more than just the physical landscape. It had strengthened bonds, forged trust, and demonstrated the power of collaboration across worlds. Lysera stopped near a small platform overlooking the settlement. She gestured for Alex to stand beside her. From this vantage point, he could see the forest, the rebuilt barriers, and the paths they had fortified. He felt a quiet satisfaction. Humans were capable of creativity, courage, and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. This moment was proof of that. She spoke again, slowly, in her language. Alex listened carefully, catching the meaning through gestures and context. She was offering him a role, not as a soldier, but as a human ambassador, a bridge between their worlds. Alex felt a mixture of pride and humility. Humanity had been recognized, not for conquest, but for intelligence, bravery, and the willingness to act with compassion. That night, as the settlement rested, Alex sat near a small fire, reflecting on the past days. The journey had begun on a battlefield, with smoke and destruction surrounding him. He had found an alien woman, wounded and alone, and without knowing her importance, had risked everything to save her. Now, through courage, ingenuity, and compassion, he had helped secure a victory, earned respect, and proven humanity's worth to an advanced alien civilization. Lysera joined him quietly, sitting beside him as the stars appeared overhead. Alex glanced at her, and in the silence they shared understanding. Humans and aliens, soldier and queen, had fought together, learned from each other, and achieved something remarkable. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Humanity had shown its best traits: resilience, intelligence, courage, and empathy. The future was uncertain. Other challenges, other wars, and other threats would come. But Alex Mercer knew that humans could face them. They could adapt, innovate, and act with heart. The bond he had formed with Lysera and the respect he had earned from her people was a testament to what humans could accomplish when guided by their best instincts. As dawn approached once more, Alex stood, ready to face whatever came next. The settlement was safe, the villagers were confident, and the Queen's people looked to him with respect and trust. For the first time, he allowed himself to feel hope, not just for survival, but for the possibility of something greater. A future where humans could be allies, innovators, and respected members of an interstellar community. The stars above glimmered faintly, silent witnesses to the courage, intelligence, and empathy that had carried humanity to this moment. Alex Mercer, a human from Earth, had entered a foreign world as a stranger. He had treated a wounded alien, faced impossible odds, and through action, ingenuity, and compassion had changed the course of events. Now he was more than a soldier. He was a symbol of humanity's potential. And when the universe tested them again, humans would rise, clever, courageous, and unbroken. As the first rays of sunlight touched the treetops, Alex and Lysera stood side by side, looking toward the horizon. The battle was won, the alliance forged, and humanity's place in the stars secured, not through power alone, but through heart, mind, and unwavering courage. And in that quiet moment, amid the ruins, the rebuilding, and the promise of tomorrow, Alex felt it clearly. Humans were capable of greatness, and the universe had taken notice.